Good evening. It's been a hiatus from our barn banter. Summer got away from us.
It's been a little busy this summer and fall.
It was really difficult to sit down and be able to have conversations in the evenings because when the sun's out, we're out. And when it's hot, at the end of the day,
We're not presentable. I'm not.
well, so we apologize. It was not in our plan to skip so many barn banners, but we're back in business now. It's fall and
Lots of things to talk about.
and lots have happened this summer. But we're going to start our barn banner for this time. We're going to talk about our studs. And we started breeding horses a long time ago before we even had studs.
Before we were even married.
Yes, both of us had a breeding background, but certainly not to the level to which we've
Grown to where we're at today.
correct. And we're fortunate that we are going to be able to stand 3 studs this year. And we want to tell you a little bit about all of them. I'm the person behind all the stuff that goes along with marketing them and making sure they get collected and making sure the contracts happen. That administrative stuff is all my stuff. Brent is the brains behind which mares. Okay, I said it publicly, okay? I said it. Which mares we breed to which stallions. Sometimes I sit in amazement when I'll ask him, does he know this horse either a popular new line or going back tens of years ago, decades ago. I'm always amazed at what he knows about the bloodlines. And so he's kind of made it his niche in this thing so that we know what kind of mares we want to collect up and what kind of studs we want to stand. We are still very committed to breeding colored horses.
Absolutely.
Predominantly the Tobianos. So we have mares and stallions that we hope that at least 80% of our foals will be a colored Tobiano.
Well, you got a couple Overos in there too. We've got the Silver Sensation daughter.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so.
So I'm not certain which one we want to start with, but I guess let's start with the one we've had the longest. And that's absolutely a gentleman. He is an own son of Gentlemen Send Roses, which while we had other stallions before Gus actually put us on
in the breeding
business and put us on the game plan that we could produce nice horses. Gus was 3 short of having 500 foals. 48% of his foals had show records. So we were very fortunate to have had Gus in our barn. And we specifically kept Charlie, absolutely a gentleman. So, because he was homozygous. And he had a pretty strong mom. He's got a mom that was by
Absolute Investment.
Correct. And he did not get shown. Most of our own horses are like the cobbler's children. The client's horses always come first. So Charlie did not get shown much as a young horse. He showed him some futurities as a 3. He stood grand champion.
As a 2 and 3.
No, as a 2, as a 3.
Okay.
And he stood grand champion at one of the big futurities we showed him at, and he was reserve in the 3-year-old Western Pleasure. And then after that, there just was not the time to show him. We were fortunate last year. My sister Joni needed a horse to show, and she really likes Charlie. And so she showed Charlie, and they ended up the High Point Amateur Stallion, the High Point Amateur Color. I think she was in the top 5 in Western Pleasure, and she really didn't get to show him much because, unfortunately, at the beginning of the season, we had a little bit of an accident at a horse show, and he pulled a suspensory, and we babied that all summer. And you know, he was stoic and he stood up to it, but we really babied his suspensory all summer, and so there were times that we'd get him out and we just couldn't get him shown, to be fair to the horse. And unfortunately, he was sound, ready to go.
At the
Tulsa,
World Show.
2023, and somebody higher than us must have had another plan because the storm hit and he never got to go to the pen. So he never got to show his Tobiano class, his stud class, or any of his riding classes. But he also was the open halter stallion. He was the open Tobiano winner for Pinot, and he did win his Pinot championship last year. So he proved that he could go to the pen, and so now he's in the barn and breeding horses, and unfortunately none of his have gone to the pen yet. Oh,
None
a
of
couple.
them from here.
A
The
couple of them.
One's being shown primarily at open shows.
Right.
And has been ultra competitive. And they don't show the Painter Pinot. We've got a really nice 4-year-old gelding. There's a little story behind him. We won't go down the road, but we ended up buying him back from a customer, and he has been hurt pretty much ever since then and is still not sound. The veterinarian and I are still both optimistic that in another 6 months he can be sound, and we're stepping up our treatment on him. And
We're hoping that
he's
if
going to
he-
make a nice horse.
And
We've got mostly babies now that are about to start a show
Right.
career. We've got a couple here in the barn that hopefully I can do lunch line with them next fall. I don't believe in doing lunch line, but we're considering doing it for the CBC next year.
And we believe in him enough. Look, we've made an announcement on Facebook about we purchased a son of his who is also homozygous out of a Zippo Pine Checks mare, and we are really looking forward
This
to
thing
the
is
future with
special.
him.
Yeah.
So we will promote him and show him, and then eventually stand him in the barn. But Brent, what are the Gus produced exceptional horses,
Yes, he did. Yep.
and
Truly a once in a lifetime opportunity.
but I feel like people are missing the boat by not coming around and breeding to Charlie, because there are some attributes that Charlie's passing on that are basically making up for some of the shortcomings of Gentlemen's and Roses. So what are those?
Well, when we had, I think there's 2 or 3 things that, Gus would cross about on anything. But if he had any weaknesses, he was a tad bit long. And while he wasn't very tall, he outproduced himself in height a lot. But Charlie adds height to him consistently. They're all bigger. He is over 15.3, almost 16 hands. I could tell you he's 16 and you wouldn't think I'm lying to you. Much stronger across the back, a better hip, just as good disposition and just as quality of movers. I guess that's primarily it, and that comes back from, as Julie mentioned a few minutes ago about the bloodlines, the crossing the skip artist, back on the investor horses and absolute investment by the big investment and Gus was a Whata investment was also by the big investment, and so we're doing some line breeding and those qualities. The height and the strength and the stifles and the soundness is all coming through in Charlie. Unfortunately, the breeding business is much smaller. Not as many people breeding, and so we don't have quite the, when we had 100 foals and 100 mares breeding, there was a lot of excitement that goes with it. Now the excitement in the breeding business, and especially for the colored horses, has diminished some, and Charlie's just in the, I don't want to say the wrong time. Actually, I'm pretty optimistic it's the right time for him, or his really will gain popularity in the next couple years with the, with stronger babies when we do get them out there, so, but, when I can remember Julie asking when we bought Gus, what are we doing here? And a lot of my thoughts and stuff comes from studying and reading and watching what Hank Wieskamp did, and Gus is the skip artist, which came right from Mr. Wieskamp. But he had a vision of what the ideal horse was, whether you agreed with him or not. He had a vision, and he worked on it every day, trying to attain that goal as to producing what the perfect horse was in his mind. We're doing a lot of the same thing, and I think our babies, now we're in our second and third generation of babies, and we just finished foaling out a few months ago the very best foal crop that we've ever had, and anybody that has seen them have agreed. And it's just trying to pursue that big strong horse that can do multiple events and's got a great attitude, and I really think with the few little things that Charlie is improving on from what Gus did, I think we're on the right track. Are we done? We're never done. I'm never done, but he's
and as trainers here, we have dealt with always a multitude of amateurs and youth horses, and they all need to be talented.
Yep.
But bottom line, they all need to be great-minded because
disposition.
They have to be able to deal with the whims and wishes of a youth or an amateur, and sometimes if those horses are the least bit fractious, it's just a recipe for disaster.
Yep.
So, well, now you know a little bit about Charlie, and I'll tell you how Charlie got his name. Every year I have a theme, and the year that Charlie was born, it was 2.5 Men. And I told Brent that when this colt was born, I said, I'm naming him Charlie. And he goes, you can't name him Charlie. Charlie is I'm not going to say the word, but Charlie is just a royal pain on that show. And I said, yeah, but Charlie always has women and he's making money, so I think that that's the perfect name for a future stud horse. Because when he came out, he was all speckled just like his dad. We knew he was homozygous. And in fact, if people came in the barn and they really didn't know the two horses,
Right.
they didn't know if they were looking at Gus or Charlie. So now you know a little bit about Charlie. So the next stud that we acquired now 3 years ago is a double registered owned son of Invitation Only out of a mare called Ain't She a Flirt. And I can't tell you for sure, but I know that she has produced over $150,000 worth of NSBA
160.
money winners. And at one point she was the on the leading dam list for AQHA and NSBA.
Yeah.
And then Just Comes Easy is, and we call him Easy, he is by invitation only. And how can you argue with invitation only, because for years he was the leading AQHA sire. And you know, he's gone on to produce multiple stallions that are sons of his,
Hundreds, if not more.
that are standing. And you know, to be able to get our hands on a double registered son of Invitation Only, we were really excited to get him. He's not had a show career himself. We think there's some things in his past that have he's very broke and extremely quiet, and his foals are the same way. But somewhere in his past, he's had some stuff done to him to where he's a little bit of a challenge when you lay a spur on him. And I know it's not the horse. I think that it's been man-made somewhere. And we've done our best. Brent's tried. Brent really wanted to, because he needs to stand up in a performance stallion class. He is correct and gorgeous neck and pretty head, big hip, but you know, you gotta ride, and we are not going to let him ride unless he can win.
Right.
So just as we had to do with Gentlemen Send Roses, we have to wait for his babies to get out there.
He's certainly has the quality of movement when you see him loose in the round pen, the indoor, you know, but he's very intimidated and very nervous and very insecure riding him, and he's now 10. And old habits are hard to overcome, and he doesn't deserve to. His purpose in life is to produce babies, and if you have followed Julie or followed us on Facebook, you've seen some pictures of his babies this year out of GSR mares, and without exception, every one of them is just stunning. And I'm trying to be objective, and sometimes I do get to be a little barn blind, but these babies are going to really make their owners proud as time goes on. They're just as quiet and gorgeous, pretty, and talented.
And we sold one up to Canada, and it was just reserve in its Legine Futurity.
Yeah, that would have been a yearling from a year ago.
Right. And
one
then
in California.
out of a Gentleman Send Roses mare. There's one in California out of a Radical Router mare that's double registered. And they asked where the size came from, because their little mare is like 15-1. And as a yearling, this thing is almost 16 hands.
Yeah.
And he is going to make a great all-around horse. He can jog and long trot. And the trainer regularly sends me messages that she just can't believe what a gem he is to teach and deal with. We just had a reserve world at the Palomino, in the Palomino bred, yearling.
Yearling Liner.
No, halter.
Halter. Yep, right, I'm sorry.
And just 3 days ago, I don't think I even told you, I got a message from a lady down in southern Indiana that watched one of his, out of a Gentleman Send Roses mare, go in an in-hand trail class. And she said that the try and the presence and the quietness of that filly was absolutely incredible. That
Wow.
she really was impressed as to, and it was that baby's first horse show. So, you know, he is going to be a sire. And for
He
those
is a
of
sire,
you that
just
you,
more people need to know about it.
Right.
It-
and for those of you that want to breed the colored horses, he does not have any color markers, we're
Nope.
going to tell you. But with the new rule in paint, doesn't make any difference. As long as because he's got those paint papers. His mother was a double registered, colored, and you can show in whatever paint classes you want to show in, whatever quarter horses you want to show in, register at NSBA, and go show in the colored classes, not have to show in the quarter classes. There is just a ton of things that you can do. You know, bring us your homozygous mares. We've collected up 3 of them by Gentlemen Send Roses, and the last 2 years they've had easy foals, and they are super nice, have been easy to sell. They're big, they're pretty. Everybody talks about how wonderful they are to deal with.
Yeah.
And they're gonna be big. He's probably 15.3,
Little over.
but his foals are big and pretty legged and very conformationally correct. So that's your choice in easy. And then we just added to the barn this week.
This
week.
No, last week.
Oh, I guess last
Today's
week.
Monday. Yeah, last Thursday.
A stud.
And white Tobiano.
Yep. By his name is Whata Hot Machine,
Correct.
and he is
Bodie.
by a good machine, Bodie.
Bodie.
He's by a good machine, and he is out of a Gentleman Send Roses mare. My past with him was that, you know, I watched this horse show when he was a young horse at the Pinto Worlds, and he was world champion in the class that he was in. Second to him was a Gentleman Send Roses gelding named Send Roses Please. And third to him was a gelding that our niece was showing, called
Also by Gentlemen
One
Send
Special
Roses.
Gentleman.
Yeah.
And she had a world show to where she had done third. One judge would always use her first, and then she'd end up in the overall, she'd third. And this was her last class. It was her Western Pleasure class. And she just kind of rolled her eyes. And as I'm standing in sitting in the stands, I looked at her and I said, Katie, as a breeder, how can I console you and be upset when Gentlemen Send Roses is in the breeding of these top 3 horses? I said, I'm sorry, but Bodie had won it, and deserved to. I mean, really, really nice Western Pleasure horse, and great ride. Very correct conformationally, and really pretty colored, and
Unfortunately, not
homozygous. But it wasn't until we brought him home last week and I began to research his pedigree that I came to understand that he needed to land here. There is, if you go back on his mother's side, he is by a stud that we later gelded, and that my niece and my husband and my brother all showed and had a great show record with, Boston by George, out of a mare that my brother showed in Western Pleasure, and she was a great Western Pleasure quarter horse.
This is going back
Before you.
40 years.
Yeah.
You and I have been
Yeah.
married 32, so this is 35 to 40 years
So,
ago.
you know, this is by, so there's
And
family
Boston by
history there.
George, yeah.
Boston by George was out of our very first paint mare that started us in colored horses, named Indian's Image, that we bought in 1977. And so he goes all the way back to that very first mare by one of our big show horses, one of our first really nice show horses that we had. And there are 4 of his ancestors that are buried here at the farm. So when I saw that and I knew that we had gotten the opportunity, and I'm just going to say a shout out to the Smiths who have made this possible, Alan and Julie, and their client, who have made it possible for him to come here and stand. He needed to, per se, come back home.
Yep.
And so we are really looking forward to what we can do with him. You know, the Gentleman Send Roses goes back, and it was out of a Gentleman Send Roses mare.
Right.
So, you know, there you have Gus. And we are, the Gentleman Send Roses goes back far enough on him that we're not really concerned about breeding some of our Gentleman Send Roses mares to him. So I'm not really certain what mares we're going to breed to who, but he is quiet. He hasn't snickered a peep since he's got here. He is correct. Kind of fell into a time with his evolution of when they were kind of moving more into the double registers and the quarter horses. And so he's basically bred a limited number of mares. And in doing that, he's produced 2 world champions in paint. Mm-hmm. So, you know, for the few that he has, he's proven that he is a sire.
Qualities, yeah.
And so we're really excited to be able to offer him to the public. And
he's been in a pasture field for 3 or 4 years. There's been no mares bred to him anytime recently, you know, and so just because you haven't heard of him or don't know of him, you know, we encourage you to take a look at him. He's as much quality as the other 2 are. I think, you know, I'm very proud of the 3 studs we have for sure.
But, you know, for anybody breeding paint horses, pick any one of them and you're going to have a horse that you can go show, and that's going to be a really, really nice horse that you can deal with, that won't be a psycho. You know, they are, you know, short little story. We're showing Gentleman Send Roses gelding, and we've got another double registered gelding that we've been showing for halter points all year. And they're number 1 and number 2 right now. And all of a sudden this roan gelding showed up in the middle of the season, and I mean, he's pretty tough. And I looked at him, I'm standing there in the pen, and that's one of those moments that I walk over to Brett, and I don't care what, I look at him and I go, can we beat this horse? And he's beat us, and we've beat him. Super nice horse. Well, come to find out, it's one of his sons. So, you know, I just go back to that it really was meant that he ended up back here with us, and we're really excited that we're going to be able to offer him to the public again, because, you know, we've got studs that are by 2 incredible quarter horse studs, the invitation only, and a good machine.
Good machine.
So, you know, you don't get better horses if you don't get better bloodlines. And so we're really working on being able to, and really excited about being able to offer that to the public this year with any one of our 3 studs. So we're going to go through the evolution of our own. We've probably got 10 mares, and pick and choose which stud that we're going to breed them to. And what? I did not say anything about acquisition. I did not say anything about acquisition. Brent collects broodmares like thimbles. Unfortunately, broodmares cost a lot more than putting a thimble on a shelf. And so, you know, one of these farm banners we may tell you as to why we think they'll make a better choice. And then I'm not gonna lie to you. There may be days that we have decided that mare was gonna get bred to easy, and she's really in heat, and we've been breeding her, and we didn't collect easy that day, and now we're like, we can't miss. So if we've got Charlie semen here, we put Charlie in. In fact, we've got a quarter mare next year that we're
We're
gonna
not
wait
sure.
to see what feet come out. If they're dark, we know it's Easy's. If they're white, we know it's Charlie's. So, we just do what we have to do to get great babies on the ground. So, we are offering specials. We're having an October special. I mean, where can you breed to stallions like this for $500? I'll have a first of the year special again and offer that again. And then we will probably have not a first of the year, we'll do it for Thanksgiving. I do it for Black Friday. And then
You'll have a
Valentine's special, but their normal stud fee is going to be $850, and even that being said, with the cost of some of the stud fees,
this will be the last year. I would anticipate this being the last year they're that reasonable.
So we want you to have a chance to pull your mare out. Let's book early. Let's get these so we have some idea. Is particularly with the new horse, I don't really want to overbook.
Nope.
Because having not stood him, we need to make sure we got a balance and everybody gets the shipments when they need it and we don't have a problem. So, and it's reasonable. I mean, we don't kill you with a lot of fees. It's $250 a shipment. We really try to send you 2 doses in each shipment. Sometimes that's not possible, but we try to send you 2 doses in each shipment. And I can give you multiple names of breeders that say that, we're really easy. And veterinarians are really easy to work with. And, we do ship on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. But that being said, there have been some times that the mares do not cooperate. And if somebody calls me on Tuesday and said, my mare's not going to wait till Thursday, well, then we do our best to make sure that you get a shipment out. So I want to thank you for listening to us tonight. We'll be getting these barn banners back going again. Hope you've enjoyed it. Go back and look at some of our old ones from last spring and last winter. Find out some of the things that we talk about. And we hope you'll like us on YouTube, follow us on Facebook, and don't ever hesitate to send us a message or give us a phone call if you want to chat or you've got some questions, because if we don't know the answer, we'll make one up. So
I've done that.
Yeah. So we thank you for listening about our studs. We hope that you'll pick one of them if you're thinking about breeding for a colored horse, and we look forward to our future with them. So
Yes, we do. I'm
Okay.
excited. Yep.
have a good evening.
Have a good night.